Myles Garrett just wrapped up his press conference about 20 minutes ago, his first time speaking to the media since signing that huge contract extension. And I've got some thoughts I just want to kind of rip off right now while everything's still fresh in my mind. So we're just going to have a light graphic type show, and I'll just relay some of the things I jotted down and some of the key, notes and takeaways from the press conference. You might notice there's dinosaurs all over the podium. And they even had cupcakes there as well with dinosaur decorations with Myles' face on it. Garrett, a big fan of dinosaurs in general. I thought this was a good effort by the Browns, but it clearly it reeks of almost desperation from Cleveland. It almost sounds like Garrett cheated on the Browns, and the Browns are in such a toxic relationship that they're apologizing to Myles when he's the one that wanted a trade request. Doesn't this seem like something you would do after signing a star player? I thought that was a little weird. He's the one that wanted out of here, and now you guys are trying to make him feel so at home. I just thought it was a little strange, but whatever. It's not a big deal. It's some toy dinosaurs. But let's get into the actual, real, juicy parts of the press conference. So it opened up with Myles saying he had, quote, a change of heart, and as for why he decided to sign the extension after asking for a trade, what led to that change of heart? And he said constant communication with Andrew Berry on a plan to turn things around. I would recommend that Myles never gets into the Hollywood acting business. I didn't buy it for a second. To me, the press conference radiated closer to a funeral than a wedding. He didn't sound happy up there. He did not look like a man who was thrilled to make an NFL record extension and finish his career with the Browns. I'm sure he has a little bit of animosity towards some of the media members. Some people have painted him out maybe not in the greatest light since the trade request. And he knew that he was walking into the Lions' den and he would have a lot of tough questions. So his guard was probably up a little bit, but you think when someone signs a $40 million extension, it's going to be a super fun press conference. It didn't really have a lot of positive energy to it. I'll put it that way. So that's one thought I had. A couple more things I just wrote down here. He was asked about, do you have to make amends to the fan base? And he said, no, from day one, I've always said I wanted to bring a championship to Cleveland. That hasn't changed. So I do respect Myles for saying that he has to change the fans' minds and opinions on him, and the only way he can do that is with the product he places on the field. And he's absolutely right. Winning cures all. If Myles Garrett goes out there and has a strip sack against the Steelers to win the game in the fourth quarter, no one leaving Huntington Bank Field or the Browns Dome in wherever they end up playing in a few years is going to be going, yeah, but I'm still mad about that trade request. Winning cures all. If the Browns start winning football games and Myles continues to play like Myles, no one's going to be upset. Time heals all wounds, and this will be a thing of the past. I don't think any Browns fans in even 2020, 2021 were still can't believe Garrett and the Mason Rudolph thing led to suspension. How could he do that to the team? No. Those things can quickly become distant memories. Lamar Jackson requested a trade. There's a lot of famous players who are great with their current team that ask for a trade, and it doesn't come up after a little bit because they keep winning. So I do respect Garrett for having that approach of it's on him to change the fans' mindset and opinions of him, and he's going to do that on the field. He was asked in a nice way, basically, did you sell out, right? You said it wasn't about the money, but then you took a bunch of money. What are we missing? And he gave a pretty good response of, well, that's my agent's job. My agent, Nicole, she went out and got me the best deal possible. That's her job. And he's not wrong. That's what you have agents for. They get a chunk of your salary. They should get you the biggest salary possible. So one part there I understand. I still think that this all circles back to he couldn't get a trade. And so if he's going to be here, he might as well be super duper rich. Which makes sense to me, too. I would probably do the same thing if I were in his shoes. I would not have gone on the Radio Row tour if I felt that there was a chance I could be coming back. Which he said he has no regrets over the way he did things because those things led to some, tough but good conversations with Andrew Berry. But if you knew that you weren't going to be coming back, that's okay time to burn some bridges, although that's never a good thing to do. But if it's up in the air about coming back, then you probably shouldn't have gone to the extent that he went. Asking for a trade, all right, that's fine, right? You want to go somewhere where you can win. You don't think that's in Cleveland. I understand that. Spending a week hanging out in New Orleans and hopping on the Rich Eisen show and any other show at the microphone and talking about how you want to leave Cleveland, yeah, it's tough to then sell to the fan base, I think this is where we can win. I want to be in Cleveland. I want to bring a championship to Cleveland. The fans weren't born yesterday. We all heard what you said in New Orleans, and now we're supposed to believe that you have this massive change of heart when all of a sudden $40 million a season was dropped in front of you. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what went on here. So I don't really buy that, but that was really the only story he could run with. One more thing that I thought you guys might take interest in. He said the media row created more discourse in myself with the organization that, like I said, that kind of stuff became a main variable in getting this deal done. I think fans will see it's never been about money. It's about winning. If the winning follows, no one's going to care. There was one other thing that really caught my attention. Garrett was asked, so Browns having the second overall pick in the draft, does that have any kind of influence? And he said, next question, which I thought was a little sassy, but hey, that's a tough question to answer. And I think it's somewhat of an unfair question to ask a player because everyone's got their lanes, right? The GM makes the picks, the coaches coach the players, and the players play. So asking someone about someone else's field, that's a little unfair to them because now if they give an answer and that doesn't happen, you put that person in a tough position because they went, well, Myles said this, why didn't you do that? So also, it was asked by Jason Lloyd, an athletic writer, who just yesterday put out an article saying Garrett comes late to meetings, he skips mandatory things, he's basically not a good leader in the locker room. So not surprised that Garrett wasn't interested in giving Lloyd a juicy quote. But that definitely caught my attention. So a couple of things I just want to comb over, and then I want to talk next about where the Browns and Myles Garrett go from here in repairing this relationship. Zach Jackson tweeted out that when Russell Wilson was in the facility yesterday, if he had any part in kind of luring him to Cleveland, or was it more or less just a coincidence? And his pitch to Russ was, I won't take you to the ground 3 or 4 times a year. Not a bad pitch, not going to lie. I think if you're Russell Wilson and you hear that, I think everyone, by the way, at some point needs to have the opportunity to see what Garrett looks like in person. The guy's ginormous. And Russell Wilson's like 5'11". So when that person up there says, I won't sack you 4 times, you're going to say, yes, daddy. Like, okay, I'm getting in line. Thank you. And as for the little bit of both part, yeah, I'm sure Garrett was there to say something like that and maybe a little bit more, but probably wasn't a big part of the pitch altogether. Now, one thing that I've had grave concern over was how do the teammates respond to this after Garrett said he wants to go somewhere else because he does not believe in the direction the Browns are headed. He said, yeah, I've had conversations. They understand the business. They want to be successful as well. I'm not in the group chats. I'm not going to pretend to say that I know what Garrett's relationships with Denzel Ward and everyone else on this team is like. His play speaks for itself, and they know on Sunday what he's capable of and what an asset he is to the team. I still have my reservations of Monday through Saturday, and even a little bit on Sunday, there's probably going to be that thought in the back of everyone's mind of, our fearless leader said he doesn't think we can win here. And that's a tough thing to shake. And time heals wounds, and if they win, people aren't going to think about this. But if things aren't going super well, I think it could really get exponentially worse because they're losing, and I don't think Garrett is someone who's going to rally the troops. I don't think Garrett wants to be here still. I just think he was in a corner and had no other recourse. And I don't think having a leader like that, if things start to go well, is going to help turn things around. That's my fear right now. If the Browns get off to a 3-0 start, no one's going to be upset about what Garrett said in February. If the Browns get off to a 1-4 start, does Garrett give you the vibe of someone who's going to get in front of the locker room and give a huge speech? Give a Herb Brooks type speech about turning this year around? Saying, we can do this, guys? How can anyone take him seriously? He said in February he doesn't believe in the direction this team is headed. And we have to take his word for a change of heart. Change of heart, $123 million guaranteed, and not having the opportunity to get traded because you had no leverage. I think I know what they're going to pick. But that's between the locker room. That's just my assumption would be on an outsider. But I don't know what Garrett's relationships are with all of his teammates. So next up on the show, I want to talk about how the Browns and Myles kind of make amends a little bit. What's next in this relationship? But first, I do have to give a big shout out to our friends over at Mando. Mando is a whole body deodorant safe to use anywhere on your body. Now, I walk to work most days. It's about a 30-minute walk, which in the Texas heat, you can imagine causes me to work up quite a sweat. But when I use Mando, I come into the office pit stain free and not smelling awful. Now, it was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. They're offering new customers $5 off their starter pack at shopmando.com with promo code CHAT. Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, and free shipping. I've got that discount code to help you guys get hooked up on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code CHAT. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you use code CHAT at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. So let's talk about how the Browns and Garrett make amends. I think from the press conference, and this might be, grasping at straws here, go back to the dinosaurs for a moment, Reed. Clearly, Cleveland is trying to act like the whole thing never happened. They want to proceed like you never cheated on us, right? This is a bad Colin Cowherd analogy, but I think everyone has had a friend who's been in a toxic relationship of some sorts where it's like, dude, why are you still with them? They are clearly not good for you, and you are almost enabling them. Like, Garrett says, I don't believe where we're going as a team, and the Browns go, let's get some cupcakes and dinosaurs at your press conference. That sounds kind of lopsided, right? I don't think that's something a team would do for a player who I think was bad-mouthing them 6 weeks ago, not even 5 weeks ago. So that part's a little fishy to me, but I'll just repeat what I said earlier. The Browns win. No one's going to be upset at Garrett. The Browns get a quarterback. Garrett's not going to be mad at the Browns. Winning cures all. That is what this comes down to. If the Browns don't win and they don't get an answer at quarterback, Myles has a no-trade clause. He's got 6 years on his contract. And I don't even want to begin to think about when he could get traded again or ask for a trade, but if things don't get turned around, maybe he plays out the next 2 years and he asks for a trade then. At which point he'll be, 31 and have a no trade clause to help with the leverage side of things. That's probably what my best guess would be for what comes next between these two parties here. Cleveland's going to try and act like this never happened, and the way they can do that is by getting a good quarterback on the field. So with that in mind, Browns right now trying to maybe get Russell Wilson, waiting for Kirk Cousins, Shedeur Sanders with pick number 2. It's a fun offseason because it's a full of mysteries. No one, I think, has a really good sense. It's just a combination of gut feelings and doing your best in your experience to connect the dots. And an easy dot to connect is 3-win team needs a quarterback, second overall, take a quarterback. That's not really a tough, children's menu at a breakfast restaurant to play connect the dots with. But Andrew Berry loves to move in the shadows, and he's tough to predict what his next move will be. And he's traded for a quarterback no one really saw coming. So I don't think we should just believe that Berry let everyone know at the combine what his intentions are in the draft. So it's tough to really think about what comes next. But, hey, if you're wondering how do the Browns and Myles Garrett put this all behind them, the Browns get a quarterback, and Myles continues being Myles, and no one's going to be upset at the other party. Why would the Browns be upset at Garrett? He's getting a lot of sacks. Why would Garrett be upset? They got a quarterback and they're winning games. That's what he wanted. So that's the only path forward other than this relationship, getting worse offseason after offseason if losing continues and he feels like he's wasting the prime of his career. So those are my thoughts and my, where does the expression 2 cents come from? Maybe like my 100 cents on this thing. But there it is. We will be live, by the way, at 2 p.m. Eastern on the channel. So if you want to join us for Day 5 of NFL Free Agency, make sure you come hang out with us. And we'll wrap with this question here. Do you forgive Myles Garrett? Are you like, kind of water under the bridge? Let's just move on. Let's kind of pretend it never happened. Or you're like, no, not really there yet. I get both sides. Let me know what you think in the comments.